Greetings to all those who are confined behind the walls of their home, like me. Welcome to Groove with Portia, QuaranTOLD edition. I'm your host, Portia Booker, and yes, this is my real name. Groove with Portia targets those who are curious, eager, and hungry for new information that can aid in their personal and professional development. Malcolm X once said, "Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." Never stop learning. Be a sponge for the rest of your life. Before I jump into my topic for today, I want to introduce my guest. I have my mother with us. Hi, Mom.
Hi.
How you doing, Ma, during COVID?
Just taking one day at a time, praying our way through.
I agree. So this week is indeed Mother's Day. We've reached that time again. So everyone has or has had someone who was like a mother to them. On, obviously the second Sunday of May, we honor those women who are our mothers, whether we shower them with gifts, take them to fancy dinners, well, due to quarantine, we have to bring them dinner, make it, homemade, or we can do, dinner from out, but going to pick it up and bringing it back home. A homemade card, whatever Mom wants, you give it to her, right? Since it's Mother's Day. So, Mom, that's why I have you on to, honor Mother's Day. And, I value you as being my mom. I wouldn't want anybody else. You're the greatest. I appreciate all that you do for me. You do a lot for other people, not just, me and our family, but a lot of my friends come to you for stuff all the time. So you are indeed valued and loved.
Well, thank you, Portia. I'm glad that I am.
We're glad. I'm glad to have you. So we're going to just kind of dive in. So, Mom, what does it mean to be a mother?
To be a mother, it's a feeling. Mostly it's a feeling of this child that you're expecting, or when you hear that you're expecting it, you start thinking about how much love you're going to put into it, and joy, and the caring of it. It's a feeling of the things that you want to do to make this child's life the life you want them to have. You've waited so long. 9 months may not seem like a long time, but it is. And when you're waiting for this baby to be born and it gets here and you get a chance to see it and it's looking at you and you're looking at it, you start making plans for the kind of life you want that child to have, and it takes a responsibility to ensure that this happens for you. No matter what, you're going to continue to take care of that child even after they become your age.
Right? Well, Ma, I think I've asked you this before. How do you feel about having grown children?
I look at you guys and you're grown, but I still see the child that you started off to be in you, and I just still feel the same way. And of course, I have to continue to help and push and, meddle. But I wouldn't be a mom if I didn't care. If I see you falling off the edge a little bit or see something that, that wasn't always there, at least mention it, because maybe you're not aware of it. I worked hard for you guys to be the children and the grown-ups that you are. And, that's an important thing, because you're happy when your children turn out the way you want them to be.
I agree, Ma. Let's dive into that a little bit. You were, and many other mothers, you were a single parent. And, I know that at times it was hard. But, I admired you for that throughout my whole life. That's why I tell people all the time, I come from a strong line of women, because I watched what you went through as a kid. So what kept you going during those times when you were a single parent, Mom?
Well, the thing of it is that when Julian was born, I wasn't working. I had just got out of the military at that time. And after he was born, I did start working. So I had a lot of support. And then, of course, you had your military pay. And I still lived at home with my mother and grandma. So I didn't have a lot of stressful bills, mostly just the things that I needed for Julian, because there hadn't been a child in this house in a great while. So a lot of things I needed, but I had a job. See, a job is important. It takes money. Wish and hope won't do it. Prayers will. So I was able to get through a lot of those times because I was older. The streets wasn't calling me. I didn't need to be on the scene. My scene was taking care of my children, and that's where my joy was. I had joy in coming home from work, getting you guys dressed, dressed up. I stopped at the store every day and bought new outfits. That's what I wanted for you guys, because you were kind of like my dolls, but you were living dolls, and I just took joy in that. And a lot of people do take joy in raising their children, because I came from an era where at my age, mostly everybody got married and started their family, or they got married because the family was on the way. And then the husband was the breadwinner, and you didn't have to work. And a lot of times you didn't have to worry because he made money. He paid for everything. You was just at home being the housewife and mother, and a lot of times you found that in the bigger families. You don't have families that big now. You have family with 2 to 3 kids, maybe 4. Back then, you had 6, 7 kids. Okay, but you made it through on love and caring, and we kind of drifted away from that. You still have people that stay together and they have more than 2 kids, but 2 kids is hard enough. But I didn't have the struggles of that because I had a job, and I didn't feel the pressure of being alone, struggling with children and nowhere to turn. I had the support of my mother and my grandmother and my siblings.
Well, then, Mai, you're the oldest out of all of your siblings, so you kind of had, that experience of kind of being a mother because you were raising the younger ones too.
Yes. Well, my mother was sickly. She got kind of sickly after my baby sister was born. So I had started working at a young age. I had to put my age up a little bit so that I could help her out. But you didn't have times like you do now. The expense, the cost of living, there was no such thing at that time. But, it was still a cost of living. Wasn't as high as it is now. You can, you pay 32 cents for a loaf of bread. It's milk. You didn't have that high. So, at that time, you didn't struggle as hard, but I had to help my mother because she was sickly. And I got a job working at the restaurant to help her to be able to buy the other little things that you always need things. There was no Pampers, and you had real diapers. I think Wesleyan diaper service at that time because somebody, as a matter of fact, your auntie Tanya ordered that service for you and Julian when y'all were born for real diapers.
Wow, not the boxes that you buy from the dollar store or Walmart.
Oh no. you know, they still sell, and you might be able to find it at Walmart's or Macy's or any J.C. Penney's, real diapers in the baby section, but, you know, you have to soak those. And at that time, you know, I did everything I could to help my mother soak the diapers and wash the diapers, and that's when Dreft first came out, and Ivory made another one that was like snowflakes. That was so soapy to wash baby real diapers in. You didn't have Pampers. Pampers didn't come till my baby sister was born, and it was like sliced bread. It was the bomb.
Well, you know, looking at then and now, you know, some of the items that you just listed, like the Pampers and things like that, we've come a long way, you know, even with to the baby formula. And, you know, what were some other things, Ma, that were not as convenient as they are today, that were a hassle when you were, you know, raising me and Julian?
Oh, well, first, Julian wasn't a picky, and you know, I did the breastfeeding, and the breastfeeding is the best thing, if you can, to do for your baby and to build that baby's immune system, because we live in a different time now. People have all kind of sicknesses and ailments that people don't even know they have, and they come in contact with you and your baby. So you want your baby to have the best health. A lot of young people or other people don't have time, so they want the formula. But the formula had just came out at the time when you were born, and you were a finicky baby. First of all, you didn't want or like the taste of the Enfamil. And, you know, I had to keep trying different ones. You would just spit it up, till I found one that you would take, because I needed to go back to work. You know, and I was pumping breast milk, but I knew that you couldn't stay on the breast milk past a year. I mean, there may be some people, and, you know, even to the Amish people, they nursed their baby 3 and 4 years, but I had never heard of that at that time, you know. So instant milk came, instant baby formula, I should say. You know, the old formula was carnation cream, K-roll syrup, and boiling water. Okay. And that's what people made for their baby once if they didn't never breastfeed, or if they decided to stop the breastfeeding. That was the formula for the baby. So we've come a long way from that. And then you had no such thing as baby wipes. Well, the baby wipes, they didn't come out at the same time as the baby diapers, Pampers, and Huggies, and that. And Huggies was later. Pampers dominated the market for a long time before other brands came that mostly fit people's budgets, you know. As you know, the cost of living was beginning to rise. But you got wipes and things to help you clean up. Disposable, just disposables took a big boom. By the time the 90s came, you had disposables that were not there in the 70s and early, you know, 80s to around 85. They didn't exist at that time.
So, Ma, you know, who is considered a mother? You know, I know that, you know, obviously some people are mothers who don't have biological children, but who else is considered?
Well, you know, like I said before, mothering is just having the motivation to want to help, to want to do something, or you see a person that, you know, you see is struggling, or a person with children, and you have the experience to try to see if they will accept your help and you care for them, or you just do nice things for people or for the people that you meet or young parents. It's, you know, it's a compassion that you have for someone else where you feel like you can make a difference in their life and you're just drawn to them. You know, it might be, you know, God places people in your life for a season, and you just might be placed in someone's life for a season or for a lifetime. You know, but when you're in that, this is what you do, and this is what makes people feel like other people should have been their mother, or I wish you was my mother, because of the way that person is. But it's all that you do to make somebody else feel good, make somebody else's life, tell them things that'll help them, that their mom probably might have been too overwhelmed. You know, we didn't all have kind of like good jobs like we do now. You didn't have sit-down jobs. Most of the women that did go out the house and work, they did hard labor. Whether you went out to somebody's house and cleaned it up or you went into the factory, those was not easy jobs. So you'd come home tired. And the older kids, you expected to take care of the younger ones and put the dinner on because you were just too tired. And the older children were mostly raising the younger children. So you just didn't have the time to even notice that much, that how much your children may have needed you, because you had to put food on the table. You had to pay the bills. Maybe, you know, not all fathers left. Some of them got killed in the war. We had the Vietnam War, then we had the Desert Storm War, you know. And not to mention, you know, crime takes away from life too, and drugs and alcohol, you know. So then the mother, if she was already working, then she had to try to take two jobs, or even restaurant work or working in the food industry. It didn't pay a lot, but it put food on the table because, like I said, the cost of living didn't really come in until close to 1980. And then this is when you started seeing a little pay increase. But if you'll notice, even to now, the hourly wage, they want $15 an hour now, but that was unheard of back then. I think you had lost your mind, you know, ask for $15 at that time, because we still didn't pay a lot for the commodities that we use, and there was not a high demand.
Right, and you made a good point about that. You know, in our world today, it's like everything has inflated so much. I mean, earlier you mentioned about the cost of, you know, milk and bread being, you know, like a nickel, or, you know,
32 cents.
Yeah, you know, versus today, it's like everything is jumbled and tripled. And, you know, it's not like it's going to go back down either, because the more that technology advances and, you know, the more high tech we go, the more gadgets we need to keep, you know, America running. So, I mean, it's there's perks, right? You know, there's perks to all the good things that we have, like technology and whatnot. But you've had some, you know, difficult jobs. I would say out of all the ones that you have held, whether, you know, it was being a teacher for CMSD, being in the military, you also worked in a factory. Which one was probably the hardest?
Well, I can't say. It's very hard. Being a preschool special education teacher, I discovered that I could help those children. Prior to that, when I was a little girl, I'd have papers all over the bed playing school. I mean, I played school. I never thought that I would go beyond that because my mother was sick. She had, 6 kids, and she needed help. But I played school back then. Sometimes I'd get scolded because Aunt Carol would come in and tell me to get all that stuff off that bed. What's wrong with you? Because, children stay in a child's place at that time, and you better get it together. But I can't really say. Maybe the military was the most challenging, simply because you learned a lot, and you didn't take your good old time to learn it. You better ship up so you could shape out, or shape up so you could ship out. You know what I'm saying? Because you couldn't drag. You needed to be able to perform your military duties. And when I think back across that time, that's the only time where I couldn't do things at my own pace. I did piecework and all of that, and that was different because it was challenging. It was fun. When you're young, you push yourself to see how far you can go, how far you can run, how far you can jump, how high, and so that's what the piecework in the factory was like. When I went to the military, it wasn't quite the same because you were told what to do. You had someone over you telling you what you could and could not do, and you had rules to follow. So then this is when you became disciplined. And I think that helped as a parent because then, the kids didn't tell you what to do. A lot of people, they want to be friends with their kids, but it's difficult, because somebody has to be able to tell them when they're doing something wrong, and this would be better. Don't work harder, but work smarter. So I think the military may have been the hardest because in my teaching career, I felt like I was Big Mama. I had to help all my babies. Anybody that teaches, you feel like you can make a difference in these children's lives. Some you take to heart. Some you want to take home. I used to think or dream that I would have 10 kids. But God said, no, you won't have 10. You'll have 2, but you'll have 25 that you'll love every single day, but they'll go home and come back tomorrow. So help them, and from the military to teaching, I think teaching was the best. I think the military wasn't all that bad. It had its benefits, but it was the hardest to do at times, especially when you wanted to go home on furlough and they had an exercise plan that you couldn't get out of, and you're missing your family and whatnot, and you just had to replan it.
Yeah, military life, you get voluntold what to do. You don't get a choice.
Right, but it makes you a better person, see, because, it teaches you some skills that you have for a lifetime, and it gives you the tolerance that you need to organize your life, organize your children's life, and make sure that, or try to have them be the children that you want them to be instead of the ones that the street want them to be.
Ma, let's dive into that. Being the children that you want them to be. In our current world today, do you often see, or do you see that it's a lot more difficult or challenging for mothers to get their kids to be, the children that they would want for them to be, successful and, getting the career that they would hope and going through school? Do you see that a lot challenging today for a lot of mothers, Ma?
Most definitely. See, because now, you didn't have the cell phone. You didn't have distraction. You know, the cell phone is a beautiful thing. The modern technology not only created a lot of jobs and put people in a higher paying position, but it also took away some of the power that the parents have over their children simply because they stay on the phone, you know, and you have to monitor, and it's always a bickering, you know, you got to always try to, you know, work out something where, you know, they can get their work done. You know, because where they used to go outside and run with their friends, they can sit right there in the house and never lift a finger to clean their room or do anything else because they're on the phone. And you can stand there and, you know, have a connection, but then you have to, you know, really get across to them the importance of doing the things that you want them to do because they need to learn that. That's a life skill. And they fight you on it because, you know, their peers are not on that. And they love social media and they love attention, and they're getting the attention and the things that they love through their phones, and makes it difficult for you to get them to do the things that you want them to do. With you and Julian, there was no cell phone, but you couldn't go up on the block. For what? You know, I really don't think I even sent you to the store up there. I was stopped by there on my way home from work. Okay, because I didn't want you exposed to the things on the block or the people that were up on the block to influence you into children that I didn't want you to be. You know, and as a result of that, that allowed time for you guys to go to different schools and not the neighborhood schools because they were a little bit too violent and too rough. And I couldn't take off from my job every day to run to the school to see what's going on. I needed you to be able to be in a place where you'd have choices and there was not any violence or aggressiveness like they have in the urban areas a lot today, not to mention, you know, the social media, the cell phone. You know, I was resistant to it for a long time because even though it brought good paying jobs, you know, just new jobs just popped up all over the place once the cell phone really got in motion and everybody wanted one. But I was looking at, I had a lifeline that was $10 a month. And here's the cell phone. And at that time, you know, you didn't have the data plans and all this and that at that time, you know, you got a $300 a month phone bill. Ridiculousness in my mind. You know, eventually I had to break down to it, but I just couldn't see the reasoning in it. And besides, if I'm not at home, you have to call back later. So, you know, this is how I was able to try to curb you guys away from the general life that a lot of our neighborhood was struggling with to a life where you had choices and the opportunity to be something other than that because you were exposed to that in your education.
Absolutely. And, you know, like I said, we appreciate it. I do a lot. I wouldn't have been able to get to me as far as where I have in my lifetime without the decisions and you putting your foot up my butt all my life. So thank you. What is the most rewarding about motherhood or being a mother for you?
Well, for me, the most rewarding is to see your children grow up to be productive members of society, to not have, you know, worried all night, the doorbell ringing, the police is after them. You know, I didn't have to worry about that with you guys because I constantly preached. If you go to jail, you're going to have to stay because I ain't got no money to get you out. And I feel bad about it, but try not to get in trouble. So in saying that, you guys never got in trouble because you had different choices to make. And the things that you were exposed to allowed you to be the grown-ups that you are today. And that's fulfilling, watching you guys grow into the people that you are, without being in trouble, without having to deal with the justice. And I mean, we all have problems with traffic, but we try, we try not to be in a hurry. My thing is, leave early so you won't have to rush. Don't kill yourself to get there, But that's a rewarding thing to me. It's for you guys to have become the grown-ups that you are and caring adults, that care about other people and that help people and that help older people, not selfish because, all children are selfish when they're small, but you have to teach them to share, you have to teach them love and compassion, For a long time, they learned a lot of things about the Bible because we went to church because I needed Jesus to help me, and he did, to inspire me and motivate me to come up with ideas and things for us to do that was not the everyday thing that all the other kids were doing because their exposure to other kids on that level was very small. So as a result of that, I had to be the motivator and find the fun things in life to do, and motivate them to be more in life.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that they had you, Ma. I know that, seriously, I mean, I'm not just saying that just because, you're my mother, but I think a lot of people need somebody like you to come into their life. To give them that extra little push or kick, whatever your preference is.
Right.
I mean, because I think.
Well,
Go ahead, Mom.
Well, with the teaching, and since I'm too old to do that now, but I miss it some, But when you're helping someone, especially in special education, and you see them just about getting it, but it takes time and patience. You have to have that patience, and eventually you'll get there, and it has to be structured, and I feel it all the time. And as a result of that, that's what makes me stay, keep making suggestions. And when you're doing what you're doing and your brother's doing what he's doing and your other sister's doing what she's doing, I have to interject because, not saying that you're not doing it right, but I can't help it. I've been helping so long. How do you stop?
You don't. You
right.
don't. Simple, you don't. You keep going. I mean, with COVID being here, you can always, teach remotely. You're safe in the house.
Well, I try to make suggestions when I can. Because I know that a lot of mothers are struggling, trying to balance a job if they're still able to go. A lot of them are, don't have a job to go to right now, and they're overwhelmed with the kids. But hang in there because these are your children. This is our tomorrow. You have to help them get there. You never know what they may be. They may be another Martin Luther King, but they can't get there without mommy's help. And at a time like this, when our children are not able to go to school, pray for the patients to just see where they are in their education and help where you can. We have the internet now. We have the, You can't go to the library for computers, but the school, I'm sure, has a lending thing. They're providing a lunch for the kids, you know, all the weekdays where you can help them. Don't just leave them out to dry, because they need you more now than they ever have in their education. And we don't want them to lose what they've already learned because there's nobody there to help them. And you can make learning fun, and that's the thing. Come up with ideas to make it fun. Even if it's just 1 hour every day before they go to bed. What did you learn today? Just tell me one new thing that you learned today. You read it or you saw it that was real information today to help keep their minds active and not go stagnant and forget everything that they've learned. That's a real mom that's worried about tomorrow, having her kids prepared and ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, Ma, that's really good to say that. I mean, not just because you have the teacher background, but because, you know, you've had so many children, not just your own.
Right. Well, I mean, it's your responsibility. Okay? You wouldn't put your child outside. He's 3 years old and close the door. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you want to be able to provide a safe environment and one they can learn in. Nobody's asking you to be a rocket scientist. You have every tool that you need at your fingertips. Practically every mom has a cell phone. Don't tell me that you cannot find some fun things to do. And through this coronavirus, they're showing you on TV different sites, different things that you can go to help your children's minds stay active. And that's what you want. You don't want to cartoon them to death and then, you know, they don't forget all about their decoding skills and their math skills. You know, you got to keep them fresh. It's your responsibility as a parent to help them, even if they struggle with learning. You know, patty cake was one of the first games kids learned to play. And even though you may not even remember the old words, add new ones to it. You make learning fun so that the kids stay interested.
Well, yeah, and also you can be creative with it, you know, even though they're not in a classroom. Like you said, take patty cake and maybe add your own words, or like the new modern day patty cake would be the Baby Shark song.
Yeah,
that became a phenomenon.
absolutely. You know, but we, as a mother, you owe this to your baby to ensure their success in life. You want them to be successful. You're going to do everything in their power, in your power, to help them be as successful as possible. And this is where you're rewarded. And no matter how challenging, because, you know, we have children with special needs, help them. Help them in any way you can. You know, just because they don't have their normal routine doesn't mean life came to an end for them, because they're still used to their routine. Give them a new one. You know, one of the things about the coronavirus is because it hurts you everywhere. Everything in life that you have done all of your life came to a halt, and you had to change gears. You didn't even have any choice in it, you know. But you don't let it take you down unless it does. And it's beyond your control, but we still have some control. And within that control, love and prepare our children for tomorrow, because they may have a cure tomorrow. And I want, this is what I want for the world.
Yeah, and that's what we all want, so things can go back to normal. I'm tired of being pretty much square behind the walls of my home, seeing the same squirrels outside and being confined to my little work area within the house. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful that I'm still employed. I'm thankful that I can work remotely. But with me being a social butterfly, this coronavirus is killing me.
Oh, absolutely. It's important to get out. The thing of it is that we can't socialize with one another without the 6 foot to 10 foot, social distancing and, protective clothing or protective masks, because this virus doesn't pick and choose who it wants. Whoever is exposed can get it, so, happening to stay at home and not being able to go out. I mean, just a walk around the block to the corner, would help, because, you just can't stay closed up. We're not those kind of people. We never have been, not this generation, the last 3 generations. We're not accustomed to being, separated from one another, where you can't even talk to your neighbor unless you're across the fence. You can't be up close to each other. This is, truly something that I never, ever thought about happening, where people couldn't even be close together. This is something I never envisioned for the world. Maybe an asteroid or something that's beyond our control, but not at this level. See, this is beyond our control as well, And so it takes all of us to do our part, to protect ourselves from, contracting this virus. And our workers, they go there every day. The people at the store, the people at the hospital, the people at wherever you're going, the gas station, wherever. Continue to pray for them. But protect them too. Even your friends that you're still hanging out with every day. And whoever they're hanging out with and whoever they're hanging out with. The only thing we need to do is protect ourselves so that we can stop the spread of this virus that's killing people for real. This, I never thought that anything like this would happen in the world. But since it is happening, we all have to do our part to protect our families and ourselves and the people that provide services and the things that we need. Because a lot of us are nurses. A lot of our family members are nurses that work at the hospital, work at the grocery store, that work, in different places. And we all need our jobs and money because we can't get things that we need, but we have to protect ourselves. That's all they're asking, is just protect yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And people need to really take heed and follow it, because it's for, not just the workers' safety, but for yours as well. I want to thank my mom for coming on and giving her life advice to everybody. Like always, like I said, I value a lot of stuff that you say. I reference a lot of lessons that I've learned from you on my shows quite often. So you are very much appreciated and loved.
Well, thank you, darling.
Just a couple more questions. What should every mother pass down to her children, especially her daughter?
Well, for your children, from from when they first start learning how to walk and teaching them, no, no, you can't go here, you can't touch this, you know, it's a never-ending cycle. And what you do is continue to help them learn life lessons. They need life skills. This is not their world. They have to share it with the rest of the people in this world. So you want them to be honest, you know. Everybody may not be religious. Everybody may not even know what the Ten Commandments are. But, you know, because I grew up in a religious household, you know, I taught my children the Ten Commandments, taught them the right thing to do, to respect other people. You know, we didn't come up in a house where it was a whole lot of cussing. You better not do it. Don't do it. So, you know, and I didn't want, you know, my children to grow up to be disrespectful. So you teach them respect. And for your daughters, you teach them how to respect themselves. You know, what kind of clothes to wear, where to wear that. You know, nowadays, you're more revealing now than you were back in the past, but you still want to be respected. All right, you don't want to be looked at as, you know, this is not, you know, the strip club walking down the street. You're not in a video. You know, take care in how you look, and the mothers to model for her children the type of person that she wants them to be, especially her daughters. You know, it's a time and a place for everything. That's not over and done with. It's from the past, but it's a time and a place for everything. Any time and any place is not the thing, because you have to have respect for yourself and for other people so that you can be respected as well. You know, we kind of got away from it, you know, in the past, but it's one of the things that we really need, especially for our children growing up in a time like this, okay, where you have gang wars and things like that. Those are not the kind of lives that we want for our children all the time. In the beginning, those places or those things used to provide food and things for the poor. You know, they're totally different now, you know, but we want better choices, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, Ma. You're right about the choices and also being a model. I mean, that's why I said I'm very grateful and fortunate to have had, you know, you to model after. You know, me and, you know, Julian and, you know, even the Carla, we've all, you know, went to college. We've walked in the same footsteps as you. And you know, you kept your foot up our butt too, like I said. So it
Right.
so it was meant to
Well,
be.
what that's the life that I wanted for you guys. A life where you had choices, and then if you know, if you took a path that did not turn out to be the one for you, you could change courses and still have choices to make, you know, just because you know, just say, for instance, that you were an artist, you weren't very good, and maybe it was in your mind that they were going to teach you how to draw. And then when you got there and they were expecting you to have your own creations, and you were thinking, well, this is not for me, then you can switch gears and maybe do something else. Or maybe you like to write a script to whatever you were drawing. You know what I'm saying? Or you had words to put to some type of character. I mean, you know, you try to give your children every opportunity to be the best that they can be. You always want to lift them up. You always want to encourage them, because it's not the end. It's not the end.
Absolutely. Yes, you're right, Ma. Well, Ma, we're about to wrap up here. What advice can you offer all of our mothers who may be listening, whether they're younger, they're a grandmother, new grandmother, or soon to be mom? What advice can you offer them today for Mother's Day? That'll be your gift to them, since you always give all my friends and our family gifts of your wisdom.
Well, to be patient, it's challenging. It's hard raising children, especially if you just have one or you have 3 or 4. But be patient and love them. Love them because they're a part of you. They are you. Love them. One of the life lessons that I learned from my mom and my grandmother is pray your way through the storm. Other people can say they're going to be there to help you, but pray, because as I said earlier, Jesus sends people to your life to help you. And he takes people out of your life, people that you thought were going to be there forever, and they disappoint you. They weren't meant to be there forever. But love your children. Help them to be the best that they can be. Do all that you can because you love them. You want to love them. They're a part of you. And they love you too. And they all may not be able to show or say it, but teach them how. See, they're all a ball of clay. You get to mold them into the person that you want them to be. And that's with all the love that you have. Mold them.